Welcome to Making Room, a podcast inspiring people to accelerate change by being a catalyst, honoring creativity, and acting with courage. We are making room for the greatest potential of our community.
Welcome, you are welcome here. Welcome to this open door, dear. Our hands are reaching out for you. The floor is clear and we've made room for you.
Welcome back to Making Room. This is going to be an amazing conversation, which I am so excited about because it relates to music. I've got to give love to Shivani. It was your idea when we first did our episode. If you haven't listened to the soundtrack to our movement with Britt Drozda and LP7 and our amazing song called Welcome, but we talked about, we need to talk about the impact of music on us and the power of what it is in our lives. And so I just want to dive right in with y'all, whoever is ready, just of ways that music has been impactful to you, and especially in the last, I say for me in the last year and a half, like having music in ways to relax but also heal is just amazing. So for you, whoever wants to dive right in.
Since Shivani is musically inclined, we might start with her.
Thanks, Brandon.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime.
That was slick.
I thought he was going. I was like, oh, good.
You
Brandon's going
must
to take
be.
the lead
Yeah,
here.
I thought it was too.
You some type of lawyer or something?
All right, music and its impact. So, I have always been surrounded by all sorts of music, and I never really had this favorite genre. So people would ask me like, oh, what's your favorite type of music? And I literally have listened to everything. So Bollywood music, Indian classical music, pop music, rap, hip hop music. I'm a big fan of the oldies. And so growing up, my dad would drive me to school and we would always have like the 50s and 60s playing, and nobody else in my class ever knew any of the songs that I was listening
leaves
to.
Are brown.
Exactly.
All the leaves are brown.
Exactly.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Such like happy songs, right? And so it's such joyful moments. Actually, one of my best friends, Vandana, who lives in Phoenix right now, when we were in Miami together, we would like jam out to these songs, and nobody else knew what we were doing. But we had our own little like space where we could find our happy and find our like joy just by listening to really good lyrics and good happy songs. But we talk a lot about like finding your voice and having courage. And one of the first ways that I kind of took a stage was actually by singing. So in high school, I was encouraged by many, actually during a summer camp, to step on stage and sing a song. People had heard me like sing on the side and like, in the shower and things like that. But I was told that I should do it on a stage and be brave and be courageous. And I did. I sang the song from Titanic, Celine Dion, which I don't think I can hit those notes anymore.
All right, cue it up, Tasha.
No.
Oh, okay.
But it was so fun to just kind of be in that space and be able to like be on a stage and use my voice and be brave and have that chance. And since then I've sung at weddings and I've sung in other places as well, which has been really fun. And music is inherently connected to our life. So my husband also proposed to me on stage while singing with his old a cappella group.
Wow.
And we talked about our marriage kind of being this like harmony and this melody together. And so we are very much connected to music and always have been. And we try to instill that in our kids too. And so they listen to all sorts of things. But I do think that I miss kind of that, like just listening to music, right? So life has gotten so quote unquote busy that you don't always take the time to just kind of sit and listen to your favorite jams and just relax. So we do a lot of Disney at my house now because that's what the kids want to listen to, or other kids' songs. And I have a luckily short commute, so I don't always listen to music there either. But I found, especially with listening to our song, so listening to Welcome, I'm reminded of how powerful lyrics and song and music coming together can be, and that it can be this like force of movement and force of healing for yourself when you're allowed to like be in that space. And especially when we get to have the joy of like watching them perform it live and seeing their joy and seeing their smiles, and really feeling that energy. So that power of live music as well is so important.
Yeah. See, I knew what I was doing by having her go first. That was amazing.
Jeez.
And I'm not musically inclined, but I love music. Our family loves music, especially my wife Kirby and our son. They just love music, and we actually recently
So
got
like Kirby and the rival podcast is
Yeah.
They're
gonna be
very
them singing.
musical.
I didn't
Yes.
say Kirby can sing. No offense to the love of my life, but
We're
She
gonna-
danced,
she
though.
loves music.
She
Yeah,
danced.
We'll
that's
edit
true.
that part of the episode out.
Yeah, edit that out for me. Edit that out for me, or just give me time to make up before it airs. But we actually just purchased a piano for the kids to learn piano lessons, and our son, just before he even had a lesson, he just got on it and just right away was making up songs, and he just said, I just learned a pattern because he's mathematical. That's kind of how his brain operates. And I remember sitting in the house, and I'm like, oh, that's good music. I was like, wait a second, who's playing that in my house? And it was my little son. But so it was good. So they are very musically, and my daughter and I, we love and appreciate music as well.
Yeah.
But it really gets them moving. Like, they can't sit still. But to your point, Shivani, I feel like music now has been the companion for different. So I have different genres that I listen to for different things. So even in the office now, if I don't have calls, I will listen to kind of jazz or classical music to keep me focused. It helps me get through the emails and review things quickly. Obviously, hip hop when I'm working out or, just need to get pumped up for certain things. We listen to, as you mentioned, a lot of Disney soundtracks, a lot of Kids Bop, which is, it's uplifting. And
It's
so there's
good.
every-
It's fun.
Look,
John
I-
listens to it. He doesn't have kids, but he listens to it also.
Look, Under the Sea is on my playlist. Okay,
Yeah,
Little
yeah.
Mermaid is dynamite.
Yeah, there's actually a really good one. Just gonna advertise this. Vivo. It's a Netflix
I
movie.
haven't watched it yet.
Vivo is a really good movie. My kids made me watch it, but the soundtrack is really good. The main song with this kind of the little girl who's the actress. Actually, I don't know if she's a really little girl in real life, but on the movie, she has this song. It's amazing. So I won't sing it for you, but
We'll have to
we
check
sing
it
it
out.
in our house.
Hey, with Disney, I have seen the duet of the decade, which was Shivani Mehta and young Sahana Mehta at age 6 singing Frozen together.
Oh, yes. That
Yes.
happens a lot at our house. It's very impassionate, and there's lots of big arm movements and dramatic dance poses while we sing. It's great.
That's great.
Well, it is. To me, that's the fun part, right? We were yesterday cooking out, and we had LP7, our songwriter and co-performer of the song "Welcome" playing, and I just watched like it in shifts happen in people. It's just they're having fun, they're relaxing. We even had Padas got up there and sang that proposal song and
did.
re-proposed. But for me, music, as far as I can remember, I know we joke about the singing, but I was always in chorus. And my mom was actually in the New York State Choir. And
wow.
so she started taking me when I was young to a lot of Broadway shows at this place in Clearwater called Ruth Eckerd Hall.
Yeah, I've danced
Yeah.
there.
You have?
I
Wow.
have ballet.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow, we didn't know that.
Wow. That's right.
I was little.
From
It was not
Sarasota.
anything
Okay.
legit.
Well, I also danced in the Super Bowl 25 halftime show.
Nice.
So
Are you
long
making
time
that up,
ago.
or is
no,
that-
that's
serious?
1990.
Okay,
They
we got to
need-
find footage of
Yeah,
that.
there's some. My mom found it. They wanted some youth football players to dance when Whitney Houston. Well, Whitney Houston did the national anthem that year, which is people say is still one of the best in history. And then it was during the Persian Gulf War, so we danced in red, white, and blue Hutch uniforms.
Wow.
Wow.
So going off on the dance, the dance diatribe there, but so it's just always been, I think, a part, and dance is so, I think, important to music, right? Because how the body moves, how it reacts to the sound, and so I just remember always listening to, Cats, and my mom would play Memory and Nessun Dorma by Pavarotti at the time, and now when she listens to Andrea Bocelli, she gets so moved to tears. And that was one of the thrills for me. Music is also moments.
Yeah.
And when I had a chance to take my mom to New York a couple years ago, pre-pandemic, to see Andrea Bocelli, and it's funny that I'm saying the word see because, he's blind. And the way he sings and the depth of what comes through him is just, it's hard to describe, right? And in person. So it's always been those moments. Like I can remember being in Washington, D.C. with family friends when Boyz II Men, Cooley High Harmony came out, and like we were just singing "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday." I was in 5th grade, you know, and
Right.
like my brother got me a Boyz II Men T-shirt in 7th grade, and then everyone made fun of me because I had 4 guys on my T-shirt, and I was that kid. I was wearing Umbros at the time.
Nice.
That was a great album, though. So
It was-
we
no.
can all forgive you.
Yeah, and I just think there's like I even had the tough time with the question that I came up with of favorite songs, and for me it's just times a day. Like in the morning, classical music, similar to you, is very important to me because it doesn't have words and the violin and the strings. So I have a mix that maybe we can share. It's called Wake Up, and the first song is a song called the Portuguese Love Theme, and it's by a string quartet. And I love it because it's one of the theme songs as well in the movie Love Actually. And it's during the time where all of these significant others are proposing or taking that chance on, I don't know if this person's going to say yes or ask them out or this. And so it's like courage plus the violin. And so those are some things. And one of my favorite things to do at a party is just to go around the room and say, okay, next request, who's got it?
Yeah,
And
he
'cause
does.
you
He
learn,
does do that.
Yeah.
and you learn so much about people through that, and
yeah.
and the different genres. You know, if it's beach, I'm listening to Bob Marley, and I even like some Kenny Chesney. You know, my older brother got me on some. I don't listen to a whole lot of country, but that I do, and R&B. You know, in college, I just remember meeting football players where we called them slow jam sessions, and all of a sudden, does everybody like Brian McKnight and Keith Sweat and 112? Oh my gosh, let's listen to this. And then just, you know, now a neighbor got me into vinyl, and hearing the difference in vinyl and just how it's not digitally compressed and it's real, and the different kinds of rock, and you know, with my father. So yeah, lots on music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing you mentioned was that music takes you back to moments, and I think that's just the power of it. Because there are songs now, like I can remember just high school and some R&B songs that it'll take me back to that point. And my parents listened to a ton of R&B on vinyl. We always had like Earth, Wind and Fire.
That's awesome.
And Michael Jackson. We always had this like going in the house, and they have the vinyl collection is serious. I actually hope my brother and I are probably gonna fight over it at some point in the future. But yeah, it's funny how I hear those songs now, and it really takes me back to just childhood memories, or just this feeling of like warmth, or you know, riding in the car to my grandparents' house. It just takes you back to these memories, and so I think that's really the power of the music as well.
Absolutely. I feel like it's incredible when, especially with that moment of memory where you could listen to a song that you haven't heard to in decades, and all of a
right.
sudden
You're
the
right.
memory flashes back, and you remember every single lyric to the
Yeah.
song, even though you haven't listened to
That's-
it
yeah.
since you were jamming out in the 80s.
Yeah,
crazy.
and you just say, turn this up. And
Exactly.
you remember that.
So I have a question for our resident pediatrician here.
Yeah.
So I did used to, when I was in law school, I listened to classical music because there wasn't words, and when I was studying. But then when we were going through having babies, and I saw the studies where you should play Mozart to the baby while they're in utero, and so we actually did that. So that's kind of how I got into it, 'cause like playing classical music through the belly at appropriate volume, of course.
Yes, of course.
But yeah, so I guess that helps with the development. I'm assuming it's true. I mean, maybe that's why my son loves, and both of my kids love
Yeah.
music so much. But
I think there's definitely a familiarity too to the sounds that you've heard, right? So, you know, babies in utero can pick up on their parents' voices, right? Mother's voice is connected to them all the time, or the sound of the heart. And then you have a child that's born, and you do that little whooshing sound, and it's very comforting, right? So white noise machines make sense, especially that heartbeat sound, because they've been so connected to that for so long. But similarly, like the different sounds that they hear are continuously developing their brain pathways while they're in utero and in those early parts of life. You know, our son is the same way. He is so musically inclined, and we listened to tons of music when he was little as well. And then as he was younger, kind of those were the things that I would do. I would do the scales in our Indian classical scale. So kind of the do, re, mi, but in Indian version, whenever he was like crying or like
Right.
upset, and so now it's just kind of in him,
Yeah.
and he is so quick to pick up instruments or like create musicality around anything. The other day he was talking about dish soap and hand soap, and he turned it into a song, and then he's like, hold on, mommy, I have to go get an instrument, and he grabbed a drum and he was like singing something about dish soap and hand soap, and it was great. But yeah, I think that early exposure to music is huge, whether it's kind of while baby is still being, growing in the belly, or even early exposure later in, after they're born.
Well, just to follow, I'm so interested because I never thought till now till you asked that of like what is going on, like when the sound is hitting the ear, and the doctor I was recently talking about there's certain ways music or sound gets into the ear, and it can change the body. So what is happening biologically when we hear things?
So I think there's, and I'm certainly not the expert in sound and music, but I'll do my best. Early on, when it's connected to memory or to certain emotions and feelings, that gets connected into your brain, right? So you hear certain musics in moments that you were feeling comforted and loved, and those pieces of music then continue to remind you of that feeling of comfort and love. Similarly, there might be sounds and noises that might be related to things that you might have faced that were adverse. And so you might hear that sound or hear that kind of music later and not really know and be connected to the memory of that, but something about it just makes you feel scared or unsafe or fearful as well. And so I think there's that plays into the memory piece of things and your emotional memory around music. But similarly, there's this thing called music therapy, right? So where people are listening to music or playing music, and we'll have it in the hospitals as well, where musicians come in and they're playing for patients, some that are even, on a ventilator and completely, comatose state because of medications or whatever else is going on. And you can see changes in the brain when you do that, because it's activating different pathways in your brain as well.
Wow.
Yeah, we're just defaulting to any question because you're the doctor. Shivani must know.
She must know all medical
Don't
specialties.
ask me about adults.
That's right.
Well, it because it struck me. One of my favorite songs around community change, was our good friend Day Lee and his song Imagine, and it just occurred to me as you were saying that the first time I heard the song was in a program sponsored by Novant Health called H Drive to honor the memory and leadership of Dr. King and amplifying lesser heard voices to, really have leaders in those positions be mobilized to create change. And it was his wife who we were on the last day of the workshop, and it was called Dream Day. And I think it was this overwhelming satisfaction from all the collaboration amongst the participants and the facilitators and Novant and Opera Carolina and Douglas Tappan, who wrote the play, who's going to be here in a couple weeks showing it again in a different format. But when I heard her play the song, it connected me to the emotion of what we are capable of. And it's about imagine building bridges instead of walls. And I think when I still hear the song, I have such an emotional connection to it, probably because of that moment. And also that, Daly was intentional about including different styles of music, different voices, like we'll talk about shortly here with our song. And so it really honored what we can be when we work across communities. And I joke with people that in 3 minutes, that song can do a lot of change if you really listen to the lyrics and you really understand what went into putting that together.
Yeah, it's a great song, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great
I
song.
add it to my list.
I agree. Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's
We'll
good.
add it to our list. Well, and on our list, it's so exciting that we're going to soon, you'll be just here, and probably by the time this one comes out, you'll be hearing Welcome by our two beloved artists, Britt Drozden and LP7. And, I was looking through the lyrics yesterday and thought we could just talk about them. Because you said this too, Shivani, that there's lyrics. It hit me when you were talking. I wrote down there's lyrics, there's music, and there's expression. And I think in this song, when we first talked to them about, hey, this is what we're doing. There's a podcast. It's called Making Room. We're focused on these three concepts. And what was interesting is I sent them some literature, and and work around humanity and our shared humanity and the philosophy of Ubuntu and I'm only a person through other persons. And the joke amongst the two of them that you'll hear in previous episodes is that like this came together super quick. So I feel like in this case, the song was already there. We just had to create the conditions for it to come alive and come out in a way that it did here. So let's start with, actually, could we cue our production team to just play the first part to the first refrain?
Welcome, you are welcome here. Welcome to this open door, dear. We see you out in the cold. We see you alone with your soul. On a stage with a dream gleaming. We see you tired and ragged, walking the wild earth. We see you finding a home. We see you. We see you. Welcome, you are welcome here. Welcome to this open door, dear. Our hands are reaching out for you. The floor is clear and we made room for you.
For those of you not, we have a little signal to stop it, and it's very funny for us.
Although that was my favorite part of the.
You've got a side hustle future.
Yeah.
In background noises.
Background noise for Potus.
There we go, the acapella
Yeah, there we
group.
go.
You know, something I don't think I heard until just now, but if you listen to the first two lyrics that come in and she kind of pauses and says, "Welcome to this open door, dear," and it's very slow and intentional. And then you hear this beat
Yeah.
that comes in almost like you're like literally standing in front of an open door
Right.
and you're taking your first steps to be able to like move forward.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love the one other part. I just jotted down a note, and it's in the context of something you said, and we were talking about what are we doing here. And it's like we're not creating, we're not telling you to go act and do something. We're just revealing the stories that are out there that show how connected we really are. And so the we see you, and then it's welcome, you are welcome here. I think that embodies what we're doing, and so I just really like the we see you part of it.
Yeah, just I read these, because the lyrics when I read them, welcome, you are welcome here, welcome to this open door, dear. And that's the first time I realized it says the word dear, which is to me is a added word around I really see you because you're dear to me. We see you out in the cold. We see you alone with your soul on a stage with a dream gleaming. And then I hit that part. We see you alone with your soul. That sometimes being alone with your soul is a lonely place, but we still see you and you're not alone, and that your soul is a part of my soul. We see you tired and ragged, walking the wild earth. We see you finding a home. We see you. And I get moved and emotional when I heard that, because it is such a message that I think we need to hear. And what they're saying is that we're reaching out. And I heard this the other day too, that sometimes you actually need to hear something 3 times for it to really get in. So the song doesn't just say welcome and stop. It says it over and over. Welcome. No. You're welcome here. No, Brandon, you are welcome here.
Right.
And that's different than just one time. It's so, I feel like we should just keep going. What do
You know, I
y'all
wanted
think?
the
go
point
ahead,
about
Shivani.
the point about just kind of seeing people in their natural state, right? So that you could be feeling alone. You could also be feeling hopeful and having a dream and being, gleaming with that joy and that spark. But also the tired and ragged, I think, hits home, particularly after the tough time that we've had with this pandemic. So there's a group on Facebook of physician moms who particularly were interested in COVID-19, just kind of figuring out the whys and the hows, and leaning on each other across the country. And most recently, about a week or so ago, someone had asked for song recommendations for a woman who is also a physician who was trying to create a playlist for her to be like, there are days where you are being slammed in the hospital and, there is death and dying around you and it doesn't seem fair and you still have to go back to work the next day. And so what are these songs that kind of move us or inspire us, or literally just your like sad sob songs? Like, I need to get in my car and I just need to cry it out, versus the ones that are really inspirational. But when I hear those kind of lyrics of "You're tired and ragged," I mentioned to LP7 yesterday when we were hanging out and she was playing the song that I cannot wait till it drops, because I think this song is so pertinent to that group of people, to be able to say like, you know what? Yes, we see you and we see that you've been doing this day in, day out, and it's really tough, and we welcome you to like be yourself and be open and be free and just be yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are really, it's amazing to me how much people like it who are different, like different genres. And I don't even know what genre you would put this in. But like from Nate Sally, who says he listens to it all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone you talk to is like, man, I love this song. It's so great. And I listen to it all the time. And I think it's going back to the cross collaboration. And that's one of the things you mentioned with Day Lee's song is the collaborative in different genres, different types of music. And I think it is creating the right conditions where if you create the situation where you bring these two different voices together, you don't have to necessarily direct what they say because you brought them together and they're doing the act of reaching across and sharing and collaborating just as they met. This is the product of it. Yeah. And so it goes back to what we always talk about, the process and creating the conditions and just revealing, less directing, is really what's important, and I think that comes through. So I can't wait for it to be released too.
Yeah, no, it is. It is just the energy from it. I think what you said, Brandon, is so important, because I remember hearing Britt and LP7 share too that part of what Britt was, feeling like as an artist, like needed a little more of the inspiration. So like it created something with her, and then as she was building ideas, she had LP7 there say, "Oh yeah, that's awesome, good." Go. And like that we do need that, right? The root word of encouragement too is courage. So sometimes it's when you place people together, kind of like we've done when we've Wayne on, sometimes what are we doing here? It's just no, let's keep going. Let's just keep encouraging each other.
Yeah. We feel you standing here. We feel you looking within and seeing things you wanna explore. Oh, we see you touching the sky, letting go, being light so you can fly. So fly. We see you, we feel you. Welcome, you are welcome here. Welcome, you are welcome here.
Dun, dun, dun. B, hit it. Dun, 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 dun.
It's my favorite part.
My goodness.
It's my favorite part.
Well, I tell you, something occurred to me. It's so interesting when you read the lyrics of a song, and I'm someone who, when I hear songs, a lot of times I feel the beat, I feel the movement in what they're saying, and so I don't always hear the lyrics. But to see this, letting go, being light, so you can learn to fly.
And she says, "So fly." At
So
the end,
fly.
she says,
Yeah.
"So fly, do it."
And that, to me, is kind of what we're doing, and maybe this is why the song resonates so much, is that we really hope that we're co-creating a community that encourages people's light to fly and to unleash that into the world. And it's hard because, as Marianne Williamson once said, it's our deepest fear is that we are inadequate, but really what is powerful about each of us is there's the light within, and we're actually afraid that that will shine. And that's where some of the fear comes, is that really, what am I actually capable of? And I think they did that together. So that struck me differently by seeing those lyrics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same thing for the piece where it says we feel you standing here, we feel you looking within and seeing things you want to explore, like that inherent empathy, right? It's not just that we see you, but we feel it, and that you're holding space for someone to be able to have those feelings. And then at the end, where we see you touching the sky, letting go, being light, so you can learn to fly, and the idea of celebrating someone else, right? So to recognize it, to see it, to feel it, but then also to celebrate and to honor that journey for someone else.
Yeah. I don't have much to add to what you already said. I'll just say the choice of learn to fly, it says so you can fly, right? This kind of implies that you got to let go, and you're going to have some failures, and it's going to be bumpy. But that's how you learn, right? It's not that you're going to automatically do something. And I think that we've experienced that here, where I'm sure we haven't discussed it, but I'm sure each of our moments, they're like, are we really doing this podcast? Like, like, do we continue to do it? And it's like, well, just go with it. It'll be fine. And as soon as we get in here, it's like, we're supposed to be doing this. So,
Yeah, it's
love
fun
it.
when I listen to that last lyric with my son too. Like I'll literally pull his hands out and we pretend like we're flying.
wow,
Like
that's
you gotta
awesome.
feel that song.
That's awesome.
I saw you doing that too as we
Yeah.
were dancing here. Well, let's keep going. We'll get to the last part of the song, which I will say, for me, is amazing.
So good.
Okay, my second, also my favorite in addition to the that's right. That's right. That's right.
You are wonderful and full of truth, just as you are. You are wonderful, so full of truth, just as you are. Oh. You are wonderful, so full of truth. Just as you are, just as you are, you're welcome here just as you are.
So good.
Yeah, this is great. In
Yeah.
all seriousness, that is my favorite part.
Yeah.
That is my favorite part. And I think it just, there's so much in society that we try to change people for whatever side of the spectrum or argument you're on. It's just, you got to change. And I think what we've tried to do here is just come as you are. And we ask our guests, just come as you are. This is what we're looking to do. And so I just really like that we end with that there's so much it's already there. We'll keep saying it. We're just revealing it. It's already there.
Yeah, I think that the power of storytelling. I think everybody has their own story, and you can't negate that, right? That it's just your story. It's your experience. It's your life, and so allowing people to be in the same space and have their stories be shared and told, and let that be their truth, and just open arms, welcoming it.
Yeah, it's just. I think when I hear that part, I actually remember being at Evening Muse the night when Britt invited LP7 to perform it live the first time. And there was something inside of them. It's that portion of the song where they're, I believe, at their highest expression as artists. And so when I hear that, it's, I think, honoring everything of what this is about, and what we're capable of as a society. And every time something changes in me when I hear that, and I just watched people that night at the Evening Muse go up to the two of them and said, "Whoa, what was that? What just happened?" And both of them afterwards said, "Yeah, that was 2 years of pent up performing. That was my voice and spirit." And I think that part is just, I just keep coming back to the word honor. It's such an important word. It's just honor somebody as they are, and then allow them or create conditions for them to fly. And I guess I hear them flying in that. And to me, there's nothing more satisfying in life.
Yeah, I think people, Shivani and I get it. People may not appreciate why you're so emotional. You may not even appreciate it, but as you're talking about that, I think back to it. And look, you were responsible for all this. You were responsible for the song bringing us together. And I think the song and people's reaction to the song is the first bloom of fruit from the seeds you've been planting, right? And the courage that you had, we joke about you quitting your job, but you were in a pretty dark place. I mean, that was a really raw conversation that we had, right?
Yeah.
And I know Shivani's had conversation with you too. And I actually remember arguing with someone who told you, you just need to get a job, man. You just need to get a job. And I was like, no, he's going to be all right. He's going to be all right. He doesn't need to get a job. That's not what he needs to do right now. And I think you're going through all that process and seeing the fruit. This is the fruit. So I think that's why you're getting emotional and just, I don't know if people fully appreciate that, but it really is a reflection of what this is and what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think the ideas of humanity and honoring people's story and their truth comes to light in this song, and it was manifest because you were able to kind of create the right conditions to make it happen. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
it is. And if you haven't listened to it, please, one of the greatest things that we say at Making Room to honor our team is to honor the people we work with.
That's right.
And to go listen to the song and their lyrics and to leverage them. Think about a song for your company that you could curate. Think about how they could perform somehow. We would just want to invite you to think differently about what music can create in your organization, your team, your family, even just having somebody in your home, if you're comfortable with that outside and just bringing neighbors together. So I'm grateful for y'all's kind words. And I think it's also part of why I'm so moved is the growth in me of when you get clear with intentions and a purpose that is so ingrained to me in our hearts, you can just say, take this and run with it, and we had one conversation and then this product was there, and it was just like, I think it's also, taking pressure off ourselves sometimes for change is that, I remember Franklin in a previous episode say, change happens one person at a time, it's one conversation, maybe it's one song. And if we keep pushing that way, that we'll spend a lifetime doing a lot of really great things together. So we're just grateful today for our community, all you listening, and especially to Britt Drozda and LP7 for honoring our mission and what we're about in the way they did and having this song live on for a very long time.
We invite you to continue making room with us. You'll find this episode and all of our exciting and meaningful conversations on Apple, Spotify, or really anywhere you choose to listen to podcasts.
Join the Making Room movement and get more info at makingroomwithus.com or follow us on Instagram at Making Room With Us.
Thank you for showing up for us and each other. Until next time.
You are wonderful and full of truth, just as you are. You are wonderful, so full of truth, just as you are. Oh. You are wonderful, so full of truth, just as you are, just as you are. You're welcome here, just as you are.